Have you ever considered the indispensable role trees play in our lives? It's a thought-provoking question that invites us to delve deeper into the significance of these silent, towering figures that grace our landscapes. Trees are more than just a part of the scenery. They are the lungs of our planet. They inhale carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas that contributes to climate change, and exhale oxygen, the very essence of life. Every day, a mature leafy tree can produce enough oxygen for up to 4 people. Imagine the output of an entire forest. But the role of trees extends beyond just air purification. They are vital to the water cycle, as they absorb rainfall and release it into the atmosphere, helping to regulate our climate. They are also the cornerstone of biodiversity, offering shelter, food, and breeding grounds for a myriad of species, from the smallest insects to the largest mammals. Trees also provide us with timber, a resource used for construction, fuel, and countless other purposes. They produce fruits, nuts, and other edible products that sustain both humans and wildlife. They are rich sources of medicinal compounds, some of which are used in life-saving drugs. Moreover, trees contribute to our mental well-being. Green spaces filled with trees are shown to reduce stress, increase feelings of relaxation, and improve concentration. They are a source of inspiration, fostering creativity and promoting a sense of peace. Trees also play a significant role in our cultural heritage and identities. They are the subject of legends and folk tales, revered in religious ceremonies and celebrated in festivals worldwide. In essence, trees are the lifelines of our planet. They maintain the balance of our ecosystem, protect biodiversity, and enhance our quality of life. They are our allies in the fight against climate change, our source of sustenance, and our link to nature. Yet despite their undeniable importance, trees face an array of threats. Threats that we must address if we wish to ensure their survival, and in turn our own. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into these challenges and explore ways to safeguard our invaluable arboreal companions. Joining us today is renowned conservationist Dr. Jane Green, who has dedicated her life to preserving forests. Dr. Green, it's an honor to have you with us. With your vast experience in the field, could you enlighten us about the major threats that our trees and forests are currently facing? Dr. Green. Certainly, one of the most pressing threats is deforestation. Every minute, we're losing forested land equivalent to 50 football fields, largely due to human activities like agriculture, logging, and urbanization. This not only leads to the loss of trees, but also disrupts entire ecosystems. That's alarming indeed. And what about diseases? Dr. Green. Yes, diseases are another significant threat to tree health. They can be caused by a variety of factors, including fungi, bacteria, and viruses, but also by invasive species. For instance, the emerald ash borer, an invasive beetle from Asia, has killed tens of millions of ash trees in North America. It's disheartening to hear that. But in your experience, Dr. Green, is there hope? Can we turn the tide on these threats? Dr. Green. Absolutely. While the challenges are immense, so too are the opportunities for change. We can adopt sustainable farming and logging practices, invest in reforestation, and implement stricter regulations to curb deforestation. As for diseases, we can invest in research to find effective treatments and proactive measures to prevent their spread. That's encouraging to hear. It's clear that while the threats to our trees are significant, there are solutions within reach if we're willing to take action. Dr. Green. Indeed. But it requires collective effort. We all have a role to play in preserving our forests. It's not just about the trees, but about the health of our planet and the future of all species that call it home. As Dr. Green has highlighted, the threats to tree health are numerous and urgent. So what exactly are these threats that our trees face? Let's start with deforestation. It's a term we've all heard, but what does it really mean? Simply put, deforestation is the process where trees are removed or cleared on a large scale, often to make way for agriculture or urban development. This not only deprives the planet of its essential green cover, but also threatens biodiversity by destroying habitats of countless species. Then there's the issue of climate change. As global temperatures rise, trees are finding it harder to survive. Prolonged periods of drought or extreme heat can weaken trees, making them more susceptible to pests and diseases. This brings us to another serious threat: invasive species. These are non-native plants, insects, and diseases that can cause significant harm to trees. Some, like the emerald ash borer, have been responsible for the death of millions of trees in North America alone. And finally, we must talk about disease. Just like humans, trees can fall ill. Fungal, bacterial, or viral infections can spread rapidly through a forest, killing vast numbers of trees in their wake. So there you have it. Our trees face a range of threats, each one potentially devastating. But it's important to remember that these aren't isolated issues. They're interconnected, each one exacerbating the other. Deforestation increases the effects of climate change, which in turn makes trees more vulnerable to invasive species and disease. But the story doesn't end there. While we've talked about the threats, it's also important to remember that trees are incredibly resilient. They've survived for millions of years, adapting to changing environments and overcoming countless challenges. So while the threats are real and pressing, there's also hope. The key here is action. By understanding these threats and taking steps to mitigate them, we can help our trees to continue to thrive. We can protect our forests, preserve biodiversity, and ensure a healthier planet for future generations. Clearly, these threats are significant and require immediate attention. To better understand the impact of disease on trees, we're joined by Professor Mark Brown, a leading expert in tree pathology. Professor Brown, could you give us an idea of how significant the impact of disease is on global tree populations? Certainly, diseases are a major threat to trees around the world. They can decimate entire populations and alter ecosystems irrevocably. For instance, Dutch elm disease wiped out millions of elm trees in the 20th century, significantly changing landscapes across North America and Europe. Could you explain how these diseases spread? Absolutely. Tree diseases can be spread in a variety of ways. Fungi, bacteria, and viruses are common culprits. They can be transported by wind, water, insects, and even humans. Unfortunately, once a tree is infected, it can be very difficult to stop the disease from spreading. What are some of the most common tree diseases that we should be aware of? Well, aside from Dutch elm disease, there's ash dieback, which is caused by a fungus and is currently devastating ash tree populations in Europe. There's also sudden oak death, a disease that's been causing major problems in the western United States. Is there anything we can do to protect trees from these diseases? Prevention is key. This can involve careful monitoring of tree health, using disease-resistant tree varieties, and employing biosecurity measures to prevent the spread of pathogens. In some cases, treatment options may be available, but they can be costly and are often not 100% effective. Are there any diseases that could potentially be beneficial for trees? That's an interesting question. While most diseases are harmful, there are some that can have unexpected benefits. For instance, certain types of fungi can help trees absorb nutrients from the soil. But generally speaking, diseases pose a significant threat to tree health and biodiversity. As Professor Brown has explained, diseases pose a major threat to tree health. Given the threats to tree health, the need for action is indisputable. We've explored the dangers, from rampant deforestation to the insidious creep of invasive pests and diseases. Each of these threats underscores the urgency of addressing this issue head-on. We can't simply stand by and watch as our forests, the green lungs of our planet, struggle and wither. Each of us holds a piece of the solution in our hands. Planting trees, supporting local and global conservation efforts, and advocating for their protection are steps within our reach. But beyond personal action, we must also rally for broader policy changes. Stricter regulations on deforestation, more robust protections for our forests, and a commitment to sustainable practices are essential. The health of our trees, and ultimately our planet, depends on our actions today. The time to act is now. Together, we can ensure a verdant and thriving future for our forests and for ourselves.